All right, are we ready? Is everybody ready? Everybody's ready to go live. Starting a little bit early tonight, episode five of the Fox Den, live from Blacksburg, Virginia. Here in the mountains, deer season is underway. All the boys will be down. All the cousins will be down here in the next couple of days. Had two arrive today. Brad and cousin Tom. Cousin Brad, cousin Tom. Good to have you boys here. They are actually outside right now taking care of one that they just harvested this evening. So got one on the pole and got another one Tom took down tonight. So the meat will be in the freezer. Good natural meat. All right, college football. Let's start with an intro. We're going to do props and thanks. Props and thanks to begin the show tonight. As always, thanks to Mom Greyfox, Mrs. Greyfox, if you will. She's the reason we're on this. I looked at the last show. It only had like a couple minor little glitches on the internet, but this Orbic jetpack. No, I'm not sponsored by Verizon, and no, I probably wouldn't allow myself to be, but the jetpack is getting her done, I think. So thanks to her. Greyfox Jr., my middle school son, Greyfox Jr., he is my stat man. So when I do my get my stuff together on Sunday and I input my data into my algorithm, he actually reads the numbers to me. That way they get transcribed correctly. And I don't, if I miss one team, it throws the whole sheet off and takes hours to fix. So I should just get a data feed, but I still like doing it the old school way. Greyfox Jr., his aspirations to be a pro football player or a math professor. Pro football player or math professor for Greyfox Jr. He is a good football player, plays defensive back and wide receiver. Had a nice season this past year, and he's continuing to improve, so we're proud of him. Girl Greyfox, also middle school. What a nightmare, right? Two middle schoolers in the house. Yeah, living the dream. Girl Greyfox, she's our tech and production specialist. She's brought lights, and she read some comments in the first show when I looked like I was in a crack den, and my face was blue, and she said, Dad, you can't do that. I got to fix that for you. So Girl Greyfox, she's one of a kind, and she's our tech and production specialist. Cousin Tom, who got down here today, it was big that Cousin Tom got here, not just so he could hunt deer, but my truck broke down, and I needed a part, and I couldn't get it in Virginia. And Tom brought it to me from Delaware. So 6.5 hours away. Thank you, Tom, for bringing the part with you. Couldn't have got it fixed without you. We appreciate you, and mostly congratulations to Tom on harvesting a nice mountain deer tonight. Muzzleloader season for today and tomorrow. A rifle opens on Saturday. You have no idea if you don't deer hunt how hard it is to take a muzzleloader into the mountains and harvest a deer. It's a special thing. Let's see what else we got here. A little props. We did props and thanks. We did our thanks. We're going to do and thanks to cousin Wayne for bringing it down. He's bringing the part down tomorrow. So thank you, cousin. Let's see. Props. Congrats to my buddy Sportsbook Tom. You can find him on Twitter. Provides only free content. He's not a tout. He's just a guy like myself. Happy to give out free content, and he's very strong with it. But Sportsbook Tom just came into Vegas to cash his Sandy Alcantara Cy Young. And that was a nice little smash. It's always nice to roll back to Vegas when you got fat winners in your pocket, especially on 30 and 40 to ones like that. Congrats, Tom, to you. Another recent follower of this show, I want to give him props. I don't know that I may be speaking out of turn, but I don't know that Run Pure does any hockey. I could be wrong. I apologize if I am. Whoever does the hockey, I'm sure they're really good at it. Pie Bets is a follower of this show. He's a frequent flyer here. He posts same thing. He just posts his picks for free on Twitter. Pie Bets, PIE Bets, and he's been absolutely melting the ice. Smoking hot. And I'm not talking about minus 200s. I'm talking about plus money, just super sharp plays. He does a nice little write-up on all of his plays. I messaged him the other day and I said, dude, it's like you're getting a copy of tomorrow's Calgary Herald when you handicap hockey. Never done it myself, but I have ridden some of Pie Bets lately, and it's smoking. So check him out. Props to those guys for their recent successes. Let's see. Summary. I did give out one free play on the last show, on the Tuesday show. That was for the Northern Illinois game that went last night. Had Northern Illinois minus 1.5. That was a loser. When I talked about the pick, I said I caught a glitch in the way I was doing things when I first started using this algorithm and rating system. And I even said it and then did it. It's funny. 40 years in and I still do stupid things. I'm sure I will tomorrow too. But basically, you can have a rating advantage where one team's better than the other. But when you're talking about now they're a 3-8 team in Northern Illinois. I mean, how much can you live up to a decent rating? It's nice to have a rating that looks better than your record because it generally means you're going to get line value. But they're a 3-8 football team and they played like it last night. Unfortunately, there was some random variance, but I mean, the biggest stat that caught me in this game is they outgained Miami, Ohio. They lost by 6. They outgained Miami, Ohio by just maybe 10 yards, something like that. They were 0 for 9 on third downs. That's, if you look in Webster's dictionary at the definition of inept, you will find a picture of the Northern Illinois offense on third down. And what I noticed, I was flipping between games, but I was looking at like every time I turned it on, they'd have a 3rd and 4, and they'd gain 3.5 from their own 20, and then they'd punt it. Like they were like inches short on converting about 5 of those, but they were deep in their own territory. They had to lead a couple times. They were up 17-16, had to lead, and so of course they're going to punt it. I mean, any coach would punt it. But it's just bottom line. It's a bad team, and I slipped on my own rules. So good refresher for me. I need to continue to always refine my craft. But that drops our season record 2-2. If you're fading me, you haven't made any money, and if you're backing me, you haven't made any money. So we're going to try to get that swapped around. We've got a few plays out there that I really like this week that I've already given out on Tuesday's video. We have a future national championship future, and we have an ACC title game play that we had made too, and they're on Tuesday's video. So if you have any, if you want to go back and watch that, you can get the full rundown there. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to go to mailbag, and I apologize. I'm getting the mail off my phone here. And always jacked that people, number one, that people take the time to watch this, right? Just taking the time to watch it. I know I started earlier tonight. I don't expect a huge crowd. Hopefully the alerts went out that I was firing it up. We got some deer to work up out in the barn, so I got to get this done. Mailbag tonight. Just thrilled when people contact me, right? Because that's really why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for money. I don't get paid anything. I'm not doing it to pound my chest on winners and hide from losers. I'm going to be, if I go 2-20, I'm going to be sitting here going 2-20 with my wife and son will probably be the only 2 people watching. So, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I do it to interact with people, right? It's like when you live in Vegas, the coolest thing when I lived in Vegas, it's just you go down to Stardust, you go down to the South Point, you go down to wherever you go to, whatever sports book you go to, and you get this, kind of a crowd that hangs in these places that you become familiar with and friends with and associates with. And it's just talking about sports gambling, right? We lived in the dark shadows for so long that legalization now, it's changed that. And I miss having people to talk to about it. Here where I live, Virginia just became legal. I don't even really know of many people that I maybe know 1 or 2 guys in my area that are active that I could have even a remote conversation about sports betting with. So to be able to talk and interact with people, working miracles. What's your best sport? My best sport is college football. I'll get into college basketball or walking miracles once football starts to wind down. And I had some dates because I was looking ahead. But December 16th to January 9th is the bowl season this year. So obviously around in 2 weeks, I'll start to really, I've done kind of most of my pre-work for college basketball. I kind of, this can be kind of the silly season in college basketball, right? It's really hard for me anyways, the volume. And then when you get teams playing out of conference, I like to delve into the conferences, but I would say college football first, and then college basketball would be second. And I also do some baseball, but I'm self-admitted learning at baseball and learning a lot from JJ, Faxman, Joey Work, the Diamond King. They've taught me so much about, it's so funny. When I started handicapping, it wasn't that long ago I got into baseball, but I love the sport. I watch 155 to 160 Pirate games a year. Yeah, I know you're feeling for me right now. So I figured if I'm watching so much of it, I gotta be able to glean something out of this. And best pie eater, there it is. Best pie eater. Here's a little hey, thank you, Welcome Miracles. Here's a little trivia for you, best pie eater. There's only one way you get this Masters hat. See if you can figure it out. Only one way. And it ain't being a member. So anyways, so yeah, I do some baseball as well. When I started doing baseball, I would message, and that's kind of like where this concept came from for me, right? Message me, ask me questions. I'm going to give you my opinion. It's free. What can't hurt, right? Can't hurt to have more minds grind on it. But I would message, like JJ and Joey would be on there talking about XWOBA and BABIP and FIP, XFIP. I'm like, these guys, I literally thought I had this show on in Spanish or like Yugoslavian or something. I had no clue what was going on. And I messaged them and I'm like, guys, what? I'm a whip guy. I never understood how anything could be better than whip, right? How many walks plus hits do you give up per innings pitched? Base traffic, right? How much base traffic is there? Barring errors, right? So those guys opened my eyes to a lot, and I still don't have it even remotely close to where those guys do with their sources for information and how quality their information is. So I do a little baseball, walking miracles. I imagine I will not do any here on Run Pure because that would be like, being the backup to, Johnny Unitas and John Elway. I mean, it's just, I wouldn't even want to delve in their world. They're that good. And I play their plays. I do play their baseball plays. So they're very solid. They're free plays that they put out on a weekly basis. So I absolutely hammer it year in and year out. So mailbag. I'll end up going over the 50-minute mark tonight because I'll sit here jawing about the Masters and mailbag. And I got to get done what I need to get done here. So Spa World, and I'm going to use their Twitter handles because that's some of them get me on the Twitter, on the DM on Twitter, which anybody's welcome to do. I think a lot of times people are shocked that I even reply, and I try to reply quickly and give my best answer. But a lot of times, Spa World was yesterday, I think, and I gave them the written reply, but I had 2 today, and I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to answer it on the show because that's what we're going to do mailbag, and instead of typing it all out to you, I can answer it right here on the screen. You're only at the fan shop there. No, yeah, you cannot get this out of at the concessions there. As good as the concessions are, if you've never been to Augusta, you could go to Augusta with a $50 bill in your pocket and walk through the gates, and you can leave with. I joke with people. They sell souvenir cups for I think $3.50 for a domestic, $3.50. I think $4. It's like not even close to ballpark prices. They sell you the cup. The beer is free. You get a sweet plastic cup, green for an import, clear and green writing for a domestic. It's the greatest concessions ever, but no, the concession stand is not the home of that hat. Spa World shook me up. This is like the nightmare of any handicapper. He says, he asked me about Iowa and Wisconsin this week. And I was like, oh, hell. I thought Iowa was playing in Minnesota, and I thought Wisconsin. I was like totally. I'm like, I probably butchered my show because I'm talking about wrong games. He's like, oh, no, I meant Iowa, Minnesota. So Iowa, Minnesota, he asked about what my take was on the total, okay? Obviously, popular topic right now if you're betting college football. The United States is sort of in a massive cold snap. Pro football games moved to a neutral site dome because of 3 to 6 feet of snow expected in Buffalo between now and game day in the NFL. When I originally looked at the temperature when I first handicapped this game on Sunday, it wasn't like undoable, right? We are talking about Minnesota and Iowa. It's not like Florida or Florida State's going up there. But it has really gotten to be a nasty forecast. High of 17, low of 11 there in Minneapolis. Just brutal. But I don't think anybody wants to honestly play football in those kind of conditions. It's just every little hit hurts just a little bit more. The total I saw when he asked was 32.5 on that game. So, and one of the general rules is, and it's funny because I think the general betting public looks at this the opposite way. You can look at percentage of totals like a total of 60 in football. How many times it's gone over and how many times it's gone on. The higher it goes, the more overs it hits. The lower it goes, the more unders it hits. It's almost contrarian, right? You look at 32.5, you're like, what if this game's 21-10 at the half? That's not even unreasonable. That's still like that's on pace to be a high scoring game, but that's the 21-10 at the half in the Big Ten could end 24-13. That still goes over 32.5. So, but this is a low total for a reason. Then the main reason obviously is 2 very, very good defenses. But my notes to him back were Iowa is a better team in Kinnick at home. I don't know if you ever watched the Iowa games. It's so cool. They have the Iowa Children's Hospital there that literally hangs over the stadium. And I think it's between the third and fourth quarter. All the fans and all the players wave to the kids, and it's all glass, and the kids are waving down and holding up signs. And there's a few traditions that jerk me up a little bit. One is you will never, if you're with me and I'm watching Army Navy, A, I never turn the channel when the game's over because the best part's about to come. And B, you'll never see me with a dry eye when that happens. My sister was one of the first women to attend Naval Academy. And I can just remember being there in the pomp and circumstance and how beat Army becomes something that's said like hello and goodbye. Okay. And as you get closer to the game, it's crazy. But you go to that game and imagine Alabama and Auburn next week. And Auburn beats them, and Auburn goes over to the Alabama band while they play the fight song and stands at respect. Bust me up every time. You play all year for this one game, Army Navy. It really is that. Plebes get extra leave for the winning team. That's huge your freshman year at Military Academy. But to stand at respect and listen to your opponent's alma mater after the game, you don't see that anywhere else. But Kinnick Wave is one of my other ones. And I think I always felt, and you look at their record this year, it's indicative. They've still got some road games to play, but they're not going to have as good a record like most teams, but even more so. Iowa, much better team at home than on the road. Iowa is very well coached. I mean, Kirk Ferentz is their head coach. He's very strong, but also very conservative. Not the new school, go for it more times than not in fourth and short scenario. The analytics crowd, they call them, but people talking about it don't even know what analytics are. So Iowa wins last week. Now, Iowa won last week. Iowa won by 14 points with 146 yards. 146 yards. 146 yards. So obviously, I'm looking at a team that totaled 146 yards last week. I'm not highly intimidated. That team's hitting on all cylinders offensively, and both defenses, of course, I told them are solid, allowing sub 300 a game. I talked to them about the lower totals. Gives you a slight edge on an under. I expect it very close to the best game. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm trying to read this, but I feel Fleck is a touch more aggressive than Ferentz. And a choice to go for it on a fourth and short may decide the game one way or the other. If it's a low-scoring game, obviously turnovers are going to be the biggest game changer. Field position flip-flops are going to be a huge game changer. And going for it on fourth and short is going to be huge because any points are going to be at a premium. And obviously, you go for it on fourth down, you're generally going to do that in a position where you're looking to get some points, right? So at that time, I saw a high of 17, a low of 11 on the temps. So I wouldn't argue with an under there as low as it is. But turnovers in general, but certainly due to the temps. And by that, what I mean is when it gets cold, I mean, the football gets harder. The surface feels harder. Your hands are obviously cold, and every impact hurts worse or is more uncomfortable. More likely to have balls tip off your fingers. Tip balls, the ball then decelerates, makes it an easier catch for the defender, the deep man. So cold-related turnovers could be like one of those things where you could have a game with, 220 yards each team has on offense and could still go over if you have 3 or 4 turnovers. So that's really the turnover, I think, is the biggest threat to the under in that game. Not the two offenses. The two defenses are good and not the weather. Obviously, they all favor the under. I did make a play on that game, and I'll go over that when I go on over my plays. The 3 I'm going to give you out today, 3 free plays that I have for you later in the show. So I just advise them stay on top of any movement. As I talked about last week, over bettors tend to show up around game day. The better that just looks at the lines on Saturday at 32.5. I mean, they hardly got a score to go over that. May not even know it's 17 degrees. May not even know how good the defenses are. But in this game, I just don't really see it because I think any move to the over is going to get countered with bigger money plays. Sharp, sharp, square. I don't really like all that stuff, but guys that are sitting there waiting for a certain number. If it moves much up, I think they're going to heat it back down. So just keep an eye on that. But I said 32 would be my limit on that. So that was what I gave him, and I just want to let him know, Spotwell, I appreciate the questions. We had a second one. This one was from Ant, and that's his Twitter handle. So he asked, said, and thank you for I love the content on YouTube, Run Pure. I thank you for that, and that's why we're doing it, man. I'm not getting paid anything for this, but I do enjoy doing it, and I think hopefully that comes through in what we're doing here. I did mention that he was glad that we harvested a deer, and now we got another one we got to work up, man. So it'll be a busy week, I think, this year, the way they're running. It's peak rut here right now. For those of you that know anything about deer hunting, it's as good as it gets. He had a couple questions for me. He mentioned that he said your strategy is to get into lines at the open. Do you ever double dip if lines shift your way, or do you let them ride? So, that's me and Fax were actually talking about this, and he said it, advice from his dad. Like, how good is that? 3 generations now of Fax advice. But he said, "What? Don't ever make a bet you don't want to win, right?" So yeah, there's one game I played this week that has moved almost 4 points, and it's crossed a key number. I get it. I'm not going to argue with somebody who says the right thing to do is buy the other side and try to hit the middle, try to hit them both, win 2 with no or low risk. Generally, Ant, I do not. I take solace in the fact that I got to feel like A, I got the best number. B, the early bettors, which are generally the more studied bettors, because again, I don't like using squares and sharps and pros and Joes and public and pro and all. I just think that's so overrated. 1% of this industry is doing it professionally, but on Twitter, you would think 9 of every 10 guys is a pro. Trust me, you have no idea the size of a bankroll you need to sustain being a professional bettor. Most people will never see that money in their life. It just takes a lot. It takes a lot because you got to weather the storm. That's your source of income. You're going to lose 8 in a row. It's going to happen. So I don't double dip, Ant. The only time I will do that is if it's a big high dollar future play, right? Where I got like a 20 to 40 to 1 on something, and then I can get maybe a plus money line on the other side at game day. I just don't play that many big futures because I don't like my money tied up in the books. I mean, I do for fun sometimes, and then when you do it for fun, you're like Fax was saying, we were talking on the phone the other day. Why did you do it? You made the bet to win, right? Well, now you're here and you made it to the championship game and you got massive odds. That's what you wanted, right? It's why you made the bet. So I don't generally, I don't let it ride. And then he also asked me, just to let you guys know, NFL wise, I don't do any of the same stuff I do for college for NFL. NFL, to put it quite simply, I'm a contrarian. And so I'm a contrarian and I'm a buy low, sell high guy. When everybody on ESPN is saying how bad a team is, that's generally when I'm going to start to look at the value in them. When the whole world is hammering a team because they can't be beat, that's when I'm going to start to look to fade them. Contrarian being, there's no way Team X doesn't cover that number. It's impossible. It's a trap. I don't know. Anybody follows me on Twitter, you ought to get it. I mean, if somebody posts the word trap about betting, I'm going to retweet it. I'm going to bust on you. I'm sorry, but I have to. A trap is something you can't get out of. That's why you're trapped. What was it? I think it was the Dallas game. It was a game that somebody said this week. If you don't think books try to trap bettors, look at this line, blah, 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 blah. Okay. One team's coming off their best win. One team's coming off their worst loss. Why would the line be that? How is it a trap when I could take one side, the other side, the total, or I can just cross the game off and not bet it? Where's the cage? Where's the padlock on it? How am I trapped? How is the book fooling me? If you feel trapped, just don't bet it. Just don't bet the game. Bet games you're like, I think I have an advantage here. That's why I'm betting it. Don't bet it because you're like, well, the book wants me to take this, and I'm going to take that, and that'll be that, and then I'll trick them and trap them. No, you won't. You won't. Play the number, okay? You're not trapped. It's not a sand trap on a golf course either. It's a bunker. Why? Because in tournament play, any professional will tell you there are many times in their career, they've aimed for a bunker. Why? It's perfectly groomed. It's not a trap. I get in, I get out, I can hole it. How's it a trap if I can hole it? There's actually guys that get paid to broadcast golf that use the word trap. Don't even get me started. So, but I'm generally in NFL, I'm a contrarian and a buy low, sell high guy. And that doesn't take a lot of research, right? That's pretty easy. It's hitting you in the face all the time on the media. He asked about the Cleveland Buffalo game. And at the time, I had heard the rumors they were going to move it. And he made a play based on the weather and the game being played outdoors. They did move that game. I don't know if it was Detroit. I mentioned to him, my memory tells me that they moved a Buffalo game at some point in the not so distant past to Detroit, which is, I just can't remember the details of it, but it's happened and it's going to happen this week. So that game will be played indoors. And who's the last one? Human Highlight Reel. Human Highlight Reel said, very nice guy. Another awesome show on Tuesday. I was wondering if I could get your picks for Saturday, which I sent him. And I sent him the lines I got him out. Again, always trying to the caveat of, I think I got South Alabama. Well, yeah, a lot of them the same. I got one at 4, it stayed at 4. I got one at 2.5, stayed at 2. A 2 went to 2.5. A 7 went to 7.5, and a 6.5 went to 7.5. So I always put it with a caveat of, here's the games I played and the number I played them at. It's pretty clear if I got a 6.5 and you're looking at 7.5, you're not getting the same advantage. It doesn't mean the pick's going to win or lose. It just means that I have a slightly better chance, right? Minuscule better chance, but a slightly better chance. So I sent him my plays, and he also said, asked about my thoughts on the Florida State over under. So I said I'll do the breakdown on that. I took some notes over here for him. That was not a total that I played this week. I didn't play the side or total in that game. What I did do is I looked at it quite frankly, and I actually might have drummed up a play. Like there's a chance I play this tomorrow. So Human Highlight Reel, you got your highlight for today. You got me wanting to play something on that game. So total in that game is 52 as I checked pre-show. So here's your cursory glance, right? And I'm sure most people, when they start delving into totals, they go, okay, how many points does Florida State average? 32.6. How many points does La Lafayette average? 26.9. No mathematician, 69.5 average points per game between the two of them. The total is 52. So anybody that cursory glance is going to be like, that game should fly over. Maybe it will. I don't know. If I had Sunday's paper, I'd tell you. Florida State is putting up 459 yards a game and allowing 308. 308 is pretty good. And when I say pretty good, under 300 to me is an elite defense, because there's more teams, I think, averaging over 500 than allowing less than 300. So that's getting really close to a really, really good defense. But more than that, recent sample size. That's another thing I should talk to people about more. But and I asked Fox about a total last night, and he made a great point about the recent sample size was kind of polluted for that team. Well, the recent sample size for FSU is not polluted. Their last 3 were against Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse. And I think they allowed 19 points in 3 games. Okay, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse. I'm not going to say they're all better than La Lafayette. I mean, I have to dig through my ratings and tell you what they're all at and what La Lafayette's at. But I don't see FSU having more trouble with the La Lafayette offense that only averages 367 yards per game. And they give up 364 yards a game. That's kind of the definition of an average team, right? I coached football. I coached my head coach of a 6th and 7th grade tackle football team. My goal is always more yards than the other team. I know that sounds like, simple as can be, but more yards for the other team, meaning if my team has 500 yards at the end of the game and your team has 300 and there's no turnovers in the game, we're going to win that game 90+% of the time, right? Where you see that sway is turnovers, right? That's how a team gets outgained or only has 146 yards and wins a game. Field position swaps, turnovers, things of that nature. So in looking at this game, I couldn't really give him a recommendation, or I can't. I told him I'd read it on the show, highlight reel. So I personally, I'd lay off that total. And here's why. Again, learn from others. Facts, talking about basketball totals the other day with an underdog. Both sides have to do their part for a total. Yeah, I guess somebody could come out here and say Florida State could beat them 54-0. You're right. They could. Chances are late in the year, probably not, they're not going for any Final Four, they're not trying to get into anything where they need to put up style points. That people say style points. That's what Tennessee's doing now. Yeah, they'll be real stylish to get to play Georgia again. So I just would lay off that total. But what I did kind of uncover, weather 60 degrees in Tallahassee. And 22 points Florida State allowed in their last 3 versus Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse. Their defense is starting to gel. And I kind of saw the signs for it coming on. So you have to ask yourself, with the Florida State defense playing as good as it is, will La Lafayette be able to do their part? And I can't say they would, right? I mean, you could see a 35-0, 42-0 game, 48-0 game. Again, I don't have Sunday's paper, but I'm just telling you what the numbers lead me to believe. Team totals is where Human Highlight Reel got me all dialed in. So FSU's team total is 38.5. La Lafayette's 13.5. For those of you that obviously are new to kind of correlated bets where you have more bets in one game, instead of spreading your action out among a bunch of games, we talked about it's a good way to get your bet number up without having to handicap the whole field. So again, it's pretty simple. The line I think is 25, 24, 25. The difference between those numbers is 24, 25. The total of those two numbers is 52. So, but the 38.5 on Florida State, that's the one that has me sort of thinking, right? I mean, you can look at Florida State's offense. They've put up some decent numbers this year and against better teams. So I don't know that I'll play it highlight reel, but if I had to recommend a play, I would look at the Florida State team total over 38.5. Would not surprise me if they hang a 40 spot and then just let the backups ride it out from there. So that's what I got. Mailbag. Thank you, Spa World and Human Highlight. Appreciate you guys, man. That's what this show's all about. When it's in the comment, Walking Miracles, straight better or teaser guy? Straight better. Hard enough to win one bet. To win 2 or 3 is really hard, even to moving the number. Walking Miracles, I'll go over the schedule for shows upcoming. Facts Man Friday tomorrow. He goes, I think, at about 5:30 these days. He will give you teasers in college and pro. And again, logic tells you if you like a straight bet, you should like a correlated teaser bet. I don't have anything against teasers. I'm just a straight bet guy. I don't know, sand trap for bunkers. I know, Pie Eater, it kills me, man. And guys say it just, especially when a broadcaster says it, I'm like, they're actually paying you money. And you just said that. I had a friend who was a rules official on the senior PGA Tour, USGA, officiated the Masters. His name was Roger King. He's passed away a number of years back. And I knew him 30 years ago. I knew Roger, great guy. He's carrying around with him in his golf bag a Florida rat trap that was like bigger than my head. Okay. And I had a huge nugget. If you set it on a golf course, it had a chain, like one of those turnover chains that guys wear in college. He would make you wear it for the next hole. And you usually only had to do that once. No traps on a golf course. No traps in sports betting. Stop accusing Jeff Benson of trapping people with Circa because he puts out early numbers and they look shady. Ooh, Jeff Benson, shady. No, he's not. Circa's not shady. South Point's not shady. Westgate's not shady. They're putting out numbers. They have a job to do. They do their job. You have your job. Bet it or pass. Don't get trapped. And definitely don't accuse them of trying to trap you. That's comical. Gosh, shouldn't have got started on that. I ended up the whole show on trap. Okay, let's see. Just talk about one other game here that kind of struck my eye this week. I did make a small play on it. It was actually a 2% play for me, which those of you know, I'm a 2% to 5% better. Western Kentucky opened a 7 against Auburn, and I bought it immediately. Now, if you look at Western Kentucky's highlight ratings on my sheet, this is one of these teams. There's a few of them that my ratings are like, we love Western Kentucky. Well, it makes sense. I mean, I think they're a 3-loss team. They've really hammered some lesser competition. They've played their better competition close. They have losses actually to Troy, UTSA, and North Texas. Not terrible teams by any means. It's like you see people on Twitter sometimes. Liberty stinks. They lost to UConn. I guess you don't watch college football. UConn's actually pretty good this year. Losses to Troy, UTSA, and North Texas. They played a couple other. I don't know. Maybe they were a couple Power 5, like in Indiana, I think, maybe close or somebody like that. Western Kentucky, but my ratings love them. So I saw the 7, and I'm like, look at the spot. Auburn's got Alabama next week. Auburn's got a losing season. They're 4-6, right? Western Kentucky's 7-4. I'm sorry. Auburn's 4-6. They're not likely not. I mean, they win this game and they beat Alabama. They're going bowling, right? 6-6. But with Alabama on deck and a 4-6 record, that's the kind of year that an Alabama win saves the season, right? Yeah, I think they fired a coach, right? So, that would really be a good springboard for Auburn, right? The Alabama win. Beating Western Kentucky is not going to be a win that they're going to springboard in the next year on. They're at home. I just felt like it's a spot where Western Kentucky can score points, and when you can score points as a 7-point underdog against a 4-6 team, there shouldn't be that much physical difference between these two teams either. I think Western Kentucky has athletes. maybe even better athletes than Auburn. I haven't watched a whole lot of Auburn this year. I have watched some Western Kentucky, and I've looked at their box scores every week. So I bought that at 7. It's small play, 2% play, right? But it was just because I had to honor my ratings, right? My ratings have that game completely off the charts the other direction. Of course, weighing the competition, I get it, strength schedule. So more of a fun play. If you're looking for a high dollar money line, I think they're at plus 195, 180, 195. I thought that's what they were. I checked them the other day, but excuse me. If you want to have some fun and you wanted to bet that, I almost, looking back at it, I probably should have put 1% on the Western Kentucky money line and just rode my ratings saying that they should win the game, right? That's a tall order, but two things would not shock me this week. Not in the least. I mean, I wouldn't even bat an eye. Western Kentucky beating Auburn, and Liberty thumping Virginia Tech. I think they're 8-point favorites over Virginia Tech. It would not surprise me to see Liberty just roll over them. Liberty, in my opinion, and JMU certainly far and above the best teams in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Not even close. Virginia and Virginia Tech aren't even close, quite frankly. So anyways, that was one I just wanted to cover. It's an interesting game. Western Kentucky, I think now is plus 4.5. That's one of the ones that moved three points around that area. So that's just talking about games. That's what we're doing, right? You need a good pick. Don Platt's at Prettiest Eyes. I need a good pick for this weekend. Okay, well, good timing. Good time to show up, Don. We're going to bust you up one right here, or try to. I mean, I like these a lot. And what I did find in looking at that Western Kentucky Auburn game is, Auburn's Auburn's hard to judge, right? Because they play these brawl SEC games where it's knockdown, drag them out, 13-10, 17-10 style of play. You always have to look at style of play when you look at a final, right? If you're playing a team that goes fast, you're going to have to score more points just to stay in the game. So your offensive coordinator knows that, right? He's not an idiot. He's trying to come up with a game plan where they can score fast. So a team that doesn't score a lot may have a misleadingly high team total or finish with a high team total in that game. 14 of the 21 games that they've played, Western Kentucky 7-4, Auburn 4-6. That's 21 total games played. 14 of them have gone over the total of 53. So Don and all the rest of you, my first free play is, let me see here. Let me get this. Somebody did this for me last week, and I was really appreciative. Over 53 Western Kentucky. Auburn. There it is. Posted. Over 53 Western Kentucky Auburn. So I did play the game. I told you I made a small play on Western Kentucky, but the excuse me for the phone ringing. But my play on the game, my official free play on that game is over 53 Western Kentucky Auburn. Second play I made was Minnesota. So again, another game I was asked about. I was asked about the total. Minnesota, I played at minus 2.5. I think that's one of the ones that's pretty much hung there. So I did play Minnesota, and I went over that when I handicapped the game, right? I think was it Fleck or whatever, the PJ Fleck, row the boat, the head coach. I think that he's a little more modern, is maybe not the right. He's younger. He's definitely more analytically aggressive. I would guess, just because of his age and his style of coaching. Ferenc is going to be more punt, 4th and 1, clip near midfield. He's probably going to punt. He's going to be used to playing a defensive game. I have a feeling Fleck's going to make the decision to go for it more than Ferenc will. They have the home field, and I just think Minnesota is maybe a little better team. It's hard to look at a game where a team made 146 yards total offense last week and won by 13, 14 points. It's ridiculous. I mean, I just that alone probably shoved me onto Minnesota. I liked a few things about the game. The number I think is fair. It was a note on when I did my Sunday work. Under 3 or under, it's a bet, and I got it at 2.5, so it was a bet. So Minnesota. Let's see here, Minnesota minus 2.5. Iowa. There you go. Number 2's in there. Sweet. We're typing in plays and everything like JJ and all those guys do. Now the last one I got. So this is a 1 week look ahead. It has opened. I played it on DraftKings Virginia. We talked about it already. We've already got, for the loyal listeners, have the 8-1 on Michigan to win it all, which is really a value play. It's under the premise that Michigan beats Ohio State. They're going to be 2-1 if they beat Ohio State. That's where Ohio State is now. So they beat Ohio State. They're going to be number 2 in the country. They're going to have a relative cupcake in the Big Ten, and then they're going to not have to play Georgia in round 1. So the goal with that, honestly, the 8-1 is a winner to me. If they need to get in the playoff, obviously, which there's a chance also they get in, they lose and get in, right? They can. The loser of OSU Michigan can still get in. Tennessee is going to probably have some beef about that. I'm sure they've been beefing everything this week. Tennessee, they should have taken care of their business, but that's another story. Now they're going to sit and watch in the SEC title game. So Michigan 8-1. Now Michigan down to 7-1. We've already got some value showing there, and if they beat, I think they have Illinois this week. They're 17, 18-point favorites at home against Illinois. They win that game, they'll probably drop a little again. But Michigan, Ohio State opened at +8. My numbers, it's another team. My numbers are absolutely, my data is in love with Michigan. I'll be honest with you. I don't like Harbaugh a bit, head coach of Michigan. I think he's I just don't think he's – I think I like his brother a lot more at Baltimore, and I'm obviously a Steeler fan, born in Pittsburgh. But I actually like Harbaugh with the Ravens. I forget. I know they're for John and Jim, but I can't remember which is which. I think Jim is at Michigan and John's in Baltimore. Maybe I messed that up. I don't know. But I saw it's a look ahead. They basically put it out. I saw it, I guess, maybe a day or two ago, or today or yesterday. But Michigan +8, I took that. And, as I said, the reason I have the 8-1 on Michigan is so I don't have to buy a +300 money line to appease my ratings, to say my ratings said they should, they have a really good chance to win this game, even in Columbus. And they got over the hump last year, right? I'm pretty sure Michigan beat Ohio State last year. So they got over the hump. I just feel like 8 points is just a little too much. I mean, I think if it was under 7, I probably would just leave the game alone and ride my future, right? But at +8, I definitely Michigan +8. Whoop. Sorry. +8. What are you doing? 8. Why is it doing that? It doesn't like the +8. Michigan 8. Oh. +8 OSU. Michigan +8 at OSU. So there's your three free plays for the week. 2-2 going into these. Let's try to bust all 3 of them out. Let's get it to 5-2. Let's get it to where we're making you guys some money, right? That's all we're trying to do, is just put a couple dollars in your pocket. That's all we want. A couple ducats. Let me go to my final page here, and I'll get out of here. I'm 42 minutes. JJ's going to be pissed. Closing. Upcoming shows tomorrow. Faxman Friday. Usually he's going in a little earlier slot now. This week, he's as good as they get, people. He really is, and really he's as or more entertaining than he is good. I don't want to take anything away from how good he is, but he's easily as entertaining as he is good. We have so many funny things in common. I mean, we both raised in the Northeast. Both lived in Vegas. Both were altar boys. JJ has an older child. My daughter's older. She has a child now. That's the one difference. I'm a 2-time granddad. Fax is, I think, still waiting for his first grandchild, JJ. Anyways, we have so many things in common, and I enjoy his shows. I watch him for just to see him do his thing, man. I wish I could do it like he does it, honestly. He's really good at this. I'm quite sure a number of different formats and shows would love to have him on there. And I'm thrilled that he's at Rum Tour, believe me. And I'm thrilled that he takes the time to talk to me about games. And again, it's just fun to talk to somebody who's that sharp. Faxman Fridays, 5:30 is tomorrow. Don't miss it. Fax will give you his Pepto-Bismol. He's going to give you his college plays, his teaser plays, his pro plays. He's going to load your card up, okay? He's going to load your card up. So Faxman Friday. Next week's Fox Den, okay? This is important now. This is important. We're going to give you a little foreshadowing. Next week's Fox Den Tuesday, we're going to do our standard picks and early numbers, okay? We'll go over some games. I'll give out some picks that I played on Sunday if the lines are still in the right window. Thursday is going to be Thanksgiving. Thursday, I want to do a special. I mean, it's Thanksgiving, right? I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Number one, I love my own family that I live with. They're awesome. But the family that comes here every Thanksgiving to hunt deer and just to basically have a 7-day good time, they're like people that I would love to see every weekend. And used to when we lived in the same town. We used to hang out every weekend, fish together, hunt together, go out on a boat together, just do everything. It's the greatest bunch of people that comes down here. I'm so excited right now when it starts and they're on the way here and a couple of them are already here. And it's like they'll be honking their horn and driving out. It'll feel like 5 minutes from now. It's a week. It's sometimes up to 2 weeks, they stay. It goes so fast. So I want to do a special in honor of those guys, my family and friends that come down here. And I want to do they do it on ESPN, right? They do it on college football. Like, what are we? We're run pure. We're running pure. We're running way more pure than ESPN. So how about we do the guest picker segment? Fire up the G4, right? Get the jet hot, wheels up, and get our guest picker in here, right? So I've got a couple that I'm trying to convince to do just a single guest pick segment at the end of the show with me. I'll own that pick on my personal record. I have no issue with that. Trust me, because I wouldn't bring somebody on here to give you some flim flam. I've got a couple guys lined up. Not sure who we're going to get, whether we get one or two. But it's Thanksgiving, and I'm going to do something different. Okay, JJ, don't shoot me. Don't get mad at me. I'm just trying to mix it up a little bit for these people, right? These good, loyal listeners. Thursday, we're going to do a special early show with a guest picker. I think there's only one college football game Thursday, but there's a big slate for all weekend long. And that sort of gets into your last big weekend in college football. So I'd like that Thursday show to be cool, right? Get a nice solid show. So people that have family in town could be like, I got a thing on the computer I got to do for work. And go out, if they got a barn like me, go out in the barn and put the show on and just laugh with us. We're going to have trust me, it's going to be a good time. We're going to be in celebratory mood by that point, I can promise you. The following week is conference championships. So conference championships, probably still do 2 shows that week. I don't really see any reason not to. It may not be that many plays. I've already made 2, right? I've got Clemson. Made 1. I have Clemson at 6-1, -6 to 1. Clemson -6 over North Carolina. That was already played. It's on Tuesday's show. If you want to see that, go back and watch it. The following week after that, so that's this week, next week, the 3rd week, is basically just Army Navy. So I don't really see doing 2 shows when there's one game. And first thing I can tell you right now, as soon as it opens, I'm going to bet the under. Bet the under in every military academy game versus each other as soon as it opens, every time. I don't know what the record is, but I know it's good. 2 teams that run the same thing, basically, they know each other like brothers. So to wrap it up, that week, I'm not sure. I've talked to JJ. I've talked to Faxman. We're going to try to do some kind of bowl show or a bowl contest, okay, where hopefully we can do it with all 3 of us. That's my goal. So if we can, that'd be awesome. Faxman, JJ, me, maybe have a contest and set some odds, right? That'd be cool. Faxman -200, JJ +120, Ray +200, right? Let's do it like that, because I'm definitely going to put some money on myself at +200. So we're going to try to do a bowl show. I got to get with those guys on that. But Faxman Friday, don't miss it. Don't miss it tomorrow. It's going to be a hammer. I promise you that. 48 minutes, JJ's going to be pissed. Cousin Tom's going to be pissed. He's got a deer to work up outside, and I got to help him with that. So happy holidays. Enjoy the time with your family. Remember, Thanksgiving, early show. We're going to try to do it around noontime in between being in the woods. We're going to do an early show. We're going to have a guest picker. Not sure who that's going to be yet, but I got the G4 on the runway, wheels up. Be ready for it. Thank you. Thank you for the comments, the chat. Send me the DMs. As you can see, I answered them all. I answer everyone I get. All right. We appreciate you. We appreciate being here in Blacksburg, Virginia, in these mountains for this beautiful week. So we're going to definitely enjoy it. Enjoy your holiday, and cheers. We gone.